I just inherited this saw. It's your, ubiquitous 10-inch Craftsman table saw, which was probably one of the most popular saws around. Now, the other one I had at the other house was my father's. That was given to my brother, and this one was given to me. And just have a quick couple of questions I want to pose to you guys, and I'll show you a couple of interesting accessories that I actually got with this. First issue first is I already know I got to redo the electrical. That's just a regular light switch here. Obviously not the safest thing in the world, especially if you're doing something you accidentally bump up against that. But my two main problems are, I'll show you the model number of this unit in a second, but unlike the other one that I have, this has a toothed rail on it, and let me get around to the other side of the camera here. And a knob that allow you to adjust the fence. Pull the knob out, lock it down. The other one was just a kind of a friction crank handle that slid along two flat rails. Now this rail here is only extends about 1.5 inches off of the actual main table, so it's relatively short, but I do have an extension for it that I picked up. So this is the first thing that goes. Now it's on the Craftsman Base, and it does have the moving legs to it, so you would basically just with your feet press these up and lock them in, and that'll raise you off to move it. My problem is these aren't necessarily working out real well for me. I oiled them up, and I still can't. It's not that they won't roll, is that they won't turn. When I have weight on this, the wheels don't want to, see how that one gets stuck? They don't want to turn. It's very, very tough. See, that one's got stuck there. There you go. They don't want to swivel themselves. So I was wondering, I don't know if any of you guys have those mobile bases that they have at that they have at Harbor Freight. I was just posing the question to you guys if you think that's a bit of a better idea than this, because like I said, they're not swiveling. Once I get the weight on there, they're just not. And also, let me show you around the back here. Also, this the main electrical is just a piece of Romex wire there, so that's gonna go bye-bye. Let me bring you around to the other side, and I'll show you the other problem I'm having. Alright, these are the back legs that don't pivot here. As you can see, they're kind of on a cam, so they're meant to slide out of their socket and go up when you don't need them. But to do that, I have to lift it up. And sometimes it'll work, and sometimes it won't. But usually I have to lift the whole thing up and slide them out by hand to get them to release. Even if I try nudging it from the front, lifting the front, those won't slide back into place. But they'll slide back down with gravity real easy. They'll go back into place and be on the wheels. So like I said, I'm thinking about getting one of those mobile bases from Harbor Freight. The other problem I'm having is with the motor. Now this motor here is the one that the half horse 1725 RPM one that I rebuilt. It's just in there temporarily with some wire nuts for the time being. But what was on this was this guy. Now this didn't look right to me when it was on there, and I looked it up, and this is actually a radial arm saw motor, and it's just giving me weight. It's not that the motor doesn't work, it just, when it wants to start up, it doesn't have a whole lot of oomph to get going. So when you use radial arm saws, you know how when you first start it up, you get that heavy buzz until everything starts and spins up, because your motor and everything's right on the blade. This won't get past that point. In other words, this will just sit here almost like it's in its starting mode, and it'll sit there and make that noise. It'll move, but it just causes a lot of vibration, and the mount wasn't correct, obviously. Mounted by these 4 bolts, and you just drilled this plate to make it mount. So I do need another motor. I just put this one on there just to make sure everything else was fine, and everything else does work. So I'm gonna get a new 3450 RPM motor, and I'm probably gonna looking around somewhere around a 1-horse motor. I think a horse and a half may be a little bit better, but I want to keep this 115, and I want to be able to plug it into any socket, so I want to keep it under 15 amps. 1-horse motor, depending on make, is 10 to 12 amps running load. So I'm thinking that would be a good kind of compromise in there to get it. So that's kind of on the agenda there. But let me just show you real quick. Everything does work. Plug it in. Switches off. And without really a whole lot of vibration or anything. Now I went online. Actually, let me get you handheld here for a second. This right here is the actual model number. 113.29901, and everything's nice and clean inside. I cleaned it all up. So I went online and I actually found some parts for this. So I already had, this is a cast iron wing, on the other side is a stamped sheet metal wing. I have an extra stamped metal wing, and I have a smaller cast iron wing that's not as big as the table saw. So I don't know if I don't know what this came off of. Maybe come off of a smaller table saw, maybe an 8-inch or something like that. But I have that too. But what I did find online is I was actually able to get the rail extension for the rip fence. So I'm going to switch this wing and put it on that side, and put this fence extension on there. But there's a little bit of an issue with that too. These holes match the other side. You can see my mounting holes don't line up. This hole will line up, but this one doesn't. So I'm gonna have to drill another hole on the other side to mount this. Also, just be aware, if you do find these, you can see how, this is the actual package that everything came in. You can see how old this is. This is ancient. That, I believe, is the part number on it. But if you look at the parts diagram, you'll have the extension, then you'll have, it says rail cap. Now, I figured it would be a nice little metal piece here to round out the edge like they have on the other side. And because it costs $14, so I figured it'd be a nice little metal piece. It would either clip onto this or finish this off so you're not digging this into your side if you rub up against the table saw. But nope. What does $14 get you? That. A little rubber doohickey. Talk about getting completely and utterly rooked. There you go. There's your end cap. Cute, huh? If I knew that, then I wouldn't have bought it, but figured it'd be all nice. So anyway, let me show you a couple of accessories that I got with this besides the wings. We got some stuff here. Got lots of blades, lots of blades. Let me back you up a little bit here. Save this one. Save this one. Nice thin rim blade. A combo blade. I believe a lot of these are, this one isn't, this one's alloy steel cyclone saw blade. can see how if you see the prices on some of these. $5.45. General purpose carbide blade. It's another blade that was hanging out of the box. This one's $20. Carbide tip blade. Another Craftsman carbide blade. And we also got this. Care and use of carbide tip saw blades. 25 cents. For lifetime carbide saws. Wonder whose lifetime that is. I think there was kind of interesting stuff here. Tells you actually how they make them. Different types. There you go. Sharpening and repair prices. You can send it to them. For sharpening, there's only $3.50 or $6.50. And $1.50 for you. $1 for replacement of one to 3 tips and 75 cents per tip after that. So there you go. Now we also got a dado blade. This is a small one, but it's one of the ones that has the adjustable hub that actually cants the blade sideways. So that's actually technically that bushing straight, but obviously the blade's tilted. So this, basically wobbles to make you a dado cut, and it has the nice. Actually has the size markings and stuff on it. And I also got these are the ones that really, really, really scare me. These are the ones with the inside and outside cutting blade, and then they have the nasty looking chipper blades that go inside. I mean, they work and everything, but they just, like I said, scare the living bejesus out of me. You see that whipping around in your face. Now, the one thing I kind of attempt to get this back together here. Now this was also in one of the boxes, but as far as I know, this is not part of the table saw. It says, maybe if you can read that. It says breezer on it. I am almost positive, and somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive this is a tire tool for something along the lines of like motorcycles or something like that. So you would basically hook this here into the rim, and then your tire would ride along the outside of this, and you can snap it and roll it around and snap it into the rim without dinging everything up. I'm almost positive that's what this is. Like I said, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But I do have a very interesting piece that I have never seen before, and let me move you over to a place where you can see it. Okay, this is the very interesting thing that I've never seen before. So you can see it says circular saw sharpener. And here's another interesting thing. Was $142, is now $19.99. So now, what this is, obviously, is a circular saw sharpener, saw blade sharpener. But here's what it looks like. So now the premise behind this is this contraption here. I'm going to do this. First of all, you have a grinding wheel. It's basically what this is. And you can see, I don't know if you can tell, it's thin, and this is actually tapered to a point, or a relative point. You have an indexing plate. There's already one on there, but apparently this is for different blades. And also, and this is part of the kit, these pieces of chipboard here. Pressboard actually, with these here. Okay, so the premise behind it is you would take one of these boards, mount this to the miter gauge on your saw, then you would mount this whole contraption here in somewhat this direction, somewhat that direction, like that. This foot would rest on your table. Your saw blade would mount right here, and then there's in the kit there's a guide, but depending on what type of saw blade you have depends on where you mark this pin. There's a little pin right here that fits into this index plate holes. So now what you would do with your saw blade mounted there, you would take Mr. Grinding Wheel, mount this in place of your saw blade on your table saw, set it up per the instructions, take this whole contraption, zip it through on one tooth, take it, turn it, index it to the next plate, zip it through on the other tooth, and keep going until you're sharp or dead, one or the other. So I'm not going to use this because, like I said, I don't know, even though, let me get something metal. Even though, I mean, I don't know how old this thing is, but it does ring. It doesn't sound like a dull thud, but I really don't want this grenading in my face, so I'm not going to turn it on. But I'm going to set this up on the saw just for S&Gs and see how this is supposed to work. Okay, so here's your basic way this thing is set up. I should have used the lower plate, but I used the higher one. I'm not even going to bother trying to go crazy with this. But well, first thing they want you to do is mount the saw backwards on your arbor, and take a grinding wheel or a hand stone. I'm assuming they don't want you to use the grinding wheel they gave you. Mount the saw on the arbor backwards, turn it on, hold the grinding stone over the wheel, and crank it up until you basically hit the saw blade so that you can even all the teeth. And then this can actually be, and they have a picture of it, mounted to a radial arm saw, and it looks even more fun. So basically what you're doing is this index plate, they give you a chart depending on which hole and everything you have to use, and you can align these perfectly with that grinding wheel. But you're just grinding in there, hitting over the grinding wheel, coming back, loosen up this nut, pull your index wheel until it clicks to the next tooth, and go. And you can align this perfectly. Obviously I'm not, but that's kind of how this thing is used. And you can also put any kind of angle you want, any special angle you want on your teeth with your miter gauge. Again, there's just no way I'm going to be using this. I'd rather pay, the 20-25 bucks for a decent saw blade rather than risk losing an eyeball or your teeth when this thing grenades on you. You can see the bevel there if you have this set perfectly. You can loosen, I can loosen this and move it over, but you can see the bevel of the blade pretty much fits the bevel of that tooth there. And like I said, so you hit one blade, index it, next, and keep going. So that's that sucker. So I'm gonna get to getting a new motor for this. I have already picked up a safety switch. This is basically the same type of switch that was on the other table saw. It's one of the ones, well, she mounts this way, pull for on, pushes off, and it has a removable key. I got it for short money. It was like $5. And I'm going to change out this cord just because it's 16 gauge wire. I'd rather have 14 gauge in there, so I'm going to change that out, and that'll mount in place of that. And we'll get a motor, and it'll plug right into the side of this switch. And like I said, more than likely looking at about probably trying to get my hands on a 1-horse motor. I think that's what we'll do. But anyway, if you guys have any suggestions or anything on the Harbor Freight, you know, mobile base thing, or on a motor or anything, just give me a holler.